cheaters of Reddit. How did the work from home situation affected the affair you were having? One of my staff found out her husband was having an affair at the beginning of lockdown. While we were waiting for IT equipment, we had staff log onto the system using their own devices, and her husband had saved a hotel booking confirmation to the desktop of the laptop she hadn't used for a while. Idiot. I've heard a few stories of people getting caught due to the fact that constant texting became real obvious. One case of someone getting caught for inviting people from a dating app over to the house while everyone else was out working. Personally, I have no idea how people find the time to have a job and 2 relationships. Just ridiculous. I have 1 job and 1 relationship. The admin for those is already ridiculous. I can't possibly remember another birthday, let alone remember secrets. Last year, Jaguar Land Rover had to shed 4,500 employees to reduce their mounting debts. They did this by offering a fat voluntary redundancy package. I mean, this thing was gold plated. If you'd worked there for over 20 years, you were being given almost £40k to walk away, and the guys within 10 years of retirement were going for it. Apart from one fella. See, he had a testing job at Millbrook. So one week he was in Warwick, and the next at Millbrook, and alternated every week. He'd been in that role since forever, and had a wife and kids in Warwick, and also had cultivated a long-term girlfriend and even had kids near Millbrook. Neither knew about the other, and he was telling both families that he was away with work on the alternating weeks. The guy had kept this up for 15 years plus, and I cannot imagine the deceit gymnastics his brain would have to do to keep the lies going. One day he said that he's not looking forwards to retiring, as both women will obviously be expecting him to retire to them, his one family, so that was his deadline. So this VR package comes around and he has to decline a tax-free lump sum and the ability to retire early, because he cannot get out of this mess he's in. I left at this time, but he stayed, and must have thought he got a stay of execution. But from what colleagues have said is that when lockdown came into effect and he was furloughed, he got found out anyway, and is now being sued and divorced by both women, as well as missing out all that lovely cash. I have no sympathy for him. COVID made it easier for my husband to cheat. He was laid off for 8 weeks and I was still working full time. My workload doubled, so I would be home later than usual and extremely exhausted. He would sneak them in the back door while I was asleep at night. He snuck them in the house while you were sleeping. Whoa, that is fricked up. Not me, but a friend was living with her partner through lockdown. Thought he was going for long dog walks or to visit his mum. Turns out he was actually going to his pregnant girlfriend's house. My neighbor got busted cheating on his corona diet that he and his wife were doing. He'd go out for a run up to Little Caesars, eat a pizza and drink a soda, then come home sweaty and directly take a shower and brush his teeth to hide it from his wife, who was diligently doing her part in the diet. He was outed when restrictions relaxed around here, and one of his teenagers spotting him coming out of the restaurant holding a bag. That story is cute considering what I asked for. This happened at the beginning of quarantine, so my friend got a call from her co-worker at 2 AM. Co-worker was drunk as heck and was stranded. My friend picked her up and offered her the couch to sleep on and sober up until morning when buses would run again. My friend woke up to find her boyfriend and the co-worker having sex right next to her in their bed. She described it as being passionate and almost romantic. My friend freaked out and left right away. Few days later, people start finding out. The co-worker claimed it was rape but didn't want to go to the cops. The boyfriend says he was too drunk. The co-worker's own boyfriend decided to stay with her. My friend and her boyfriend had to live together for a few months during quarantine until she found her own place. Best part, a few weeks ago, the 2 cheaters were caught fricking in public and were charged for public indecency. Jesus, she claimed rape, as if there wasn't a witness to apparent intimacy. The audacity of some people. Okay, so I'm not the cheater, but I was unknowingly the mistress, and COVID actually helped him get away with it longer. Basically, we had started dating about a month or 2 prior to the initial lockdowns. His father had gotten really sick a few years prior, so he had started renting his house out and moved back in with his parents to help with their mortgage, and then stayed to continue to help his mom after his dad had passed. Seeing as we weren't dating very long, me going to his place pre-pandemic seemed a little premature if it meant meeting his mother. Once the pandemic started, he said he was terrified of also losing his mother, who is high risk due to her age and diabetes, so they were extremely cautious about who they spent time with. He didn't want to worry her, so he basically had to sneak around a bit to see me. Once he started working from home, he'd come see me by telling his mom he had to go to the store or pick something up from his office, which seemed fine for a while, but the longer it went on, and the more things started opening up, the less sense it made. I eventually put my FBI hat on and from some deep digging, found his wife's Facebook account. I never expected it because when we were dating normally before the shutdown, we saw each other almost every day, and he was always super affectionate with me in public, holding my hand, kissing me, etc. He had even asked me questions from his mom while on the phone with me, as if she was in the room, so it made me feel like she knew about me and was in the loop. But in hindsight, nobody else was there. I definitely would have questioned things much sooner if it wasn't for the pandemic. He had even asked me questions from his mom while on the phone with me, as if she was in the room, so it made me feel like she knew about me and was in the loop. But in hindsight, nobody else was there. That is psychotic. I'm sorry that happened to you. That's awful. So the person I thought was my girlfriend was actually having an affair with me. Lockdown made her way less available, especially during normal daytime hours, which had never been an issue before. Started getting very suspicious when she would only speak on the phone in the car. There were a lot of other red flags, but lockdown made it way harder for her to hide her balls. The worst part is that we never broke up. She ghosted me, and as everything came to light 2.5 months later, the only response I got was that she has moved on from that part of her life. We had talked about marriage and kids and whatnot, so I should view this as dodging a huge bullet, but I haven't reached that stage yet. My dad just got busted last week for this. So normally he just drives his own car, but recently he has been using my mom's car a bunch to go run errands because it gets better mileage. Well, he used it so often that the Bluetooth in the car automatically connected to his phone when he and my mom got in the car to go to my grandpa's funeral, and cue the car reading out loud a text from my dad's mistress. After 36 plus years of marriage and 8 children, my parents just separated. Thanks for fricking up our family more than it already was, Dad. Oh man, I'm so sorry. That's gotta be rough on all of you. There's a whole group of men with other children and family who they can't visit because of quarantine. Hard to find an excuse to leave the house for long periods of time when you now work from home. Them other kids' family must wonder why dad is never home anymore. Or leave the house to see them and risk getting caught by original family. Yikes. My husband now knows my weight gain is from a love of Ritz crackers and Bursin instead of not getting my keto macros right. Worth it for Bursin. My father and I caught my mother in what we found out was a 6+ year affair with her boss at work. She went out to get ice cream and left us a phone to solve a word puzzle she was stuck on. Dad apparently was suspicious and went through her TXTs. It got real ugly when she got home and our family has been in ruins since. That is an enormous, brass set of balls leaving the house and your unlocked phone in your husband's hand while having an affair. I used to feed the neighbor's cat a little handful of kibble and give her a scritch when I was leaving for work through the garage. Within a week the cat was howling at the door wondering where I was. The seething side eye from my main indoors kitty was withering, but I have no regrets. This is my favorite one. Speaking on behalf of my wife that was cheating. She left a Facebook message to the co-worker she was having sex with, who I also know and considered a friend, that she misses him and can't wait to have multiple quickies since they only work 1 day a week because of COVID and the rest from home. FML. On my way out. Oh, I'm sorry, but it's a good thing you found out, I think. My sister cheated on her husband of 7 years, left him in June 2020, started dating the guy she was cheating with. They went to Mexico, got engaged, moved in with then fiance. She has since moved out of his house and called off the engagement wedding that they planned for the 12th of November 2020. Texted her ex-husband asking to work it out. His new GF texted my sister telling her to leave her man alone, and my sister is now dating the guy she was cheating with again. But they are just not spending time with their kids together. The kids lived together last week. Talk about some crazy crap. Answering this on behalf of a friend. The lockdown seemed to make it easy for him to get out of the house. He would go on daily bike rides in the middle of that day and she, his co-worker, would pick him up around the corner and they'd check in at a local hotel. All was great until the crap hit the fan. Could tell us part 2 of the story PLS. All I can say is regardless of cheating or not cheating, the lockdown opened my eyes to the fact that the person I thought I knew was actually a terrible woman, and in no way did she care about me, just about money and getting herself into a better position. I am eternally grateful for the fact that I would have never known if I wasn't forced to spend extra time with said person. COVID made me realize the exact same thing about my ex-boyfriend. Would have never seen it if it wasn't for COVID tbh. My co-worker was having an affair with a 22-year-old project coordinator. Before COVID hit, she moved away and now he's locked down with his wife and 3 kids. And his wife is a nurse. I managed to be putting away laundry while working and walked by the bathroom while my wife was having phone sex with a guy in 6 states away. Went through the phone records and tracked down this had been going on for a significant amount of time. The meetup stopped when she couldn't travel for work. It didn't stop my bill from cheating on my sister at all. In fact, working from home made it easier to cheat on my sister. He would ask out clients, he's an insurance agent, and go to business meetings or a night out with his friends while she took care of their 3 kids. We're in TX, so things haven't been shut down much. One night he got into a drunken altercation at a bar, and the cops were called after he left. Security had taken down his license plate number and the cops took him overnight, though any charges were dropped. While he was sitting in jail over the weekend, his phone kept going off, so my sister decided to take a look. She found tons of texts, emails, and pics between him and several women, many of which were pretty NSW. That was the straw that broke the camel's back and was what got her to file for divorce from his abusive butt. My sister and their kids deserve better and I'm glad she's going to be in a better situation soon. TLDR. Bill cheated on my sister very easily with multiple women. Got arrested, she found out about it and is now getting a divorce. My sister's kids' school was supposed to mail out laptops for every child who remained home. They were extremely delayed, so her BF let my niece use his laptop and he bought a new one. While my sister was cleaning it up and getting it ready for my niece to use, she saw he had email notifications enabled and saw an email for a DoorDash receipt. She found the address and name of the person who received the delivery, found the woman on Facebook, reached out, and found out he had been giving them both the same gifts, promises, lines, nudes, etc. Unfortunately, my sister is an idiot and is still with him. People like him are absolute psychopaths. Unfortunately, they'd take it as a compliment. This will be buried, but it's a morbidly interesting story I thought I might share. My co-worker's boyfriend returned from overseas early last year and immediately moved in with her after dating only a year with him in the army. She works at an animal shelter and he got a job working from home, so she was gone 9 hours a day and he was home. A little more than a month ago she came home to find out he was gone. He got home 20 minutes after her, a bit flushed, saying he had gone to see a friend spur of the moment. She thought it was odd because usually he'd tell her if he was going anywhere, so she left early the same day the next week just to see, and sure enough he wasn't there. Stopped by the said friend's house. Boyfriend wasn't there either. Somehow or another she found out he was leaving the same days every week to go see another girl when he should have been working. If anything, COVID made things easier for him to cheat. For a change of pace, I know a sex addict who actually stopped fricking every person that would frick him for the past few months. I wouldn't say the pandemic had nothing to do with it. Good for him. My ex would go up to our rooftop to do some work after we put his daughter to bed since I was working from home and she was doing online school and has to be up early. He was a bartender, so he was used to being up late and didn't want to keep me up by working in bed next to me. We had a 1-bedroom, so his daughter slept in the living room. He was working on a business plan that I was helping him with to try and make some $sign during COVID. Turns out those late night rooftop work sessions were really leaving to go spend a few hours with his girlfriend 15 minutes away and then sneaking back in the apartment before his daughter and I woke up. His daughter had respiratory issues too, so I was so nervous about exposing her. He was exposing all of us. Douchebag. I'm so sorry. You must miss his daughter. I'm not the cheater, but pre-lockdown I was casually dating a guy that I met last year. When we met he told me he was divorced. We spent a lot of time together going on dates and hanging out, so I never suspected anything. And I live alone, so we'd always be at my place. He had even invited me on a business trip of his to another state. Anyway, maybe a week or two into lockdown I get a text from his phone basically saying this is his wife. You can have him. Turns out he had a wife and kid the entire time. The kid was playing on his phone and the wife grabbed it and saw our texts. He came clean and said yeah, he lied because he was unhappy with his marriage. I cut him off, but it totally affected my trust in people. He recently reached out to me telling me he had contemplated suicide and he lost his job and his wife was dragging him and ruining him. I told him to not bring that guilt to me, and that was that. Fortunately my husband spends too much time on Reddit to notice I'm gone for extended periods of time, so it's all good on my end. Wait a minute. I finally found out that my now ex was cheating on me for the entirety of our relationship. The quarantine didn't even end the affair, it just brought it to light. She was still seeing him, increasing my risk for exposure to COVID. Thank God for quarantine. I'm convinced my ex-husband was cheating in the first UK lockdown. He would literally go for 5 hours walks with no drink, food, and come back with cut up legs. This is the same guy who shoots 5 times a day. He would also be the first to volunteer to work in the office and have to stay late each time. Funnily enough, less than a month after the breakup he's dating a colleague. Can't say for myself, but it certainly didn't work out so well for my ex-fiancé. Sexting another dude in the bedroom while I'm in the living room, one room over, working from home. Maybe don't leave yourself logged into Facebook on your significant other's PC if you're going to use it to be a disgustingly unfaithful liar. LMAO. For everyone saying frick cheaters, your awards will be in the mail. For everyone else, please share some interesting stories to get us through this Monday. Not a cheater, but I read the news. Some paragon of intelligence went jogging every morning during lockdown in Italy. Fast forward 3 weeks. The wife and children had to take a COVID test because the mistress was positive. Imagine the following weeks as everyone is sealed in the same house. Well, I only go to the store once or twice a week now, and since I can't be stockpiling in any significant quantity without my so finding out, I've been forced to only get a little bit at a time or share with her. I'll never get diabetes at this rate. That's rough. Stay strong. My time to shine. Or, rather, my soon-to-be ex-husband's. He's divorcing me. It just became too much work to lie to me. He doesn't, feel bad or anything. He's just a busy guy, you know, and it's hard work to maintain a double life when your wife who gave up her career to raise your child at your request is home all the time raising your child during a pandemic. I guess it was easy and fun to cheat on me and rack up credit card debt for the last 10 years, but the strain of the pandemic finally took its toll and he needed to leave me now for his own mental health. And no, I had no idea of any of it until he coldly dumped the truth on me and moved out. I'm the biggest idiot in the world. AMA. I'm probably too late that this'll get buried, but fun story. So back in February, the first confirmed UK COVID case to be transmitted in the country was local to me. For a while the guy was confused where he'd got it, until it transpired that his wife had given it him after she'd gone on a work trip the previous weekend. Except she hadn't gone on a work trip but had instead gone to London to meet up with her other man, an Italian who had just flown in for the weekend, having brought COVID with him from the at the time hotspot of Italy. Needless to say, she got caught cheating because of it. No idea what happened after that, but that was the local gossip of the tale anyway. That's literally the beginning plot of the movie Contagion. You may rightfully be called scum for cheating, but I definitely still want to hear your story as bad as any other taboo story. Does anyone else read through these, and even though you've never cheated or even thought about it, think about how you would have done things differently to not get caught? Kind of like when you're watching a serial killer documentary? No for the affair part, yes for the serial killer part. I've known the husband for years, but only knew the wife a few years, and I know they have a polyamorous relationship. All my poly friends are very specific on rules between the two primaries. Since I'm not poly myself, I tend not to pay attention to the rules of the relationships of such friends, and I accept them as the individuals they are. We are members of the same club, so I'd see them regularly pre-COVID, and she was always very cozy with a couple of people. I hadn't known that she was breaking their agreed upon rules, so she was able to pretty publicly cheat because of that. After lockdown, her work deliveries were soon found to be cheating visits, and he kicked her out. Happy ending. The husband came into a large windfall, about $500,000 inheritance, after he kicked her out. Downside. People went back to having sex with their partners. Upside. The quarantine has lasted longer than the 9 months needed to hide that your spouse is pregnant. My ex would wait until I fell asleep, and then leave. I'm assuming the pandemic didn't affect him. We were together for the first half of it. He was bad at sex, so I doubt he was actually cheating, unless he was doing it with younger and less experienced women. He did make it very clear that he found sex with me disgusting, though. I realize now that I am not. I've even thought he purposely tried to be bad so I wouldn't try to do it as often. P.S. I'm not saying I'm great at sex, but I do know how to do it at more than one speed, and I'm still quite angry that I let him treat me the way he did. If I tried to kiss him, he ended up choking me. I've come to realize that there's sex choking, and then trying to harm someone choking, and he chose the latter. I wish he knew my Reddit username so he could see how I really feel. That's awful. I hope you are with someone better now. I know some people in Korea got caught cheating due to contact tracing after contracting COVID. This one guy's record was literally motel, food, motel, food, then back to motel. You guys have homes? One of my neighbors could be heard raging outside at a man, she's the other woman, over the phone because he wouldn't leave his wife and kids. Big yikes. Reading through all these comments, a lot of people think cheating requires a lot of work and effort. As a cheater in a previous relationship and having been on the other side of it as well, I can tell you that this is not true. Cheating is a matter of pleasurable conveniences, excluding those overachievers that have 3 homes, families, etc. Why do we do it? Most of us have our own reasons, but I can promise you that if the act was ever too inconvenient to carry out, 99% of said cheaters wouldn't have bothered cheating. Just to clarify, cheating is very clearly a human garbage activity. It was a lesson well learned in my life, and I definitely appreciate having been on both sides of it before being in the relationship I'm in today. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.